Welcome to the Portland Culinary Podcast on Portland Culinary Radio. I'm Steven Shomler, your host. Man, this episode, I'm really looking forward to it. We're doing a follow-up episode. Let's see, it was a couple years ago I had you guys on the podcast. Laura and Mike Ellis from Mount Hope Farms. How are you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. I have a huge place in my heart for farmers. I love food court owners, and they work incredibly hard for often very low wages, huge hours, and the same thing is true in farming. I just know that, and I've become a fan of you guys even more since the podcast, and so I just thought we'd have you on and do an update because a lot of cool things have happened.
A lot of cool things, and thank you so much for supporting us and asking us to be on here, and we're pretty amazed by all the support that we've gotten in the last few years.
Well, you guys,
cool.
Well, you guys deserve it. And at the time I had you on the podcast, you had one Good Food Award, one, and now you have how many?
We have 5.
You have.
Can you believe that? 5.
You know, actually, I can because your stuff is that amazing.
Thank you.
From the moment first time I had it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so incredibly good. Okay, so the first year you won was 2016.
Right.
And what was that for?
It was for our spiced Marionberry fruit spread.
Fruit spread. Okay. And so you guys are a real farm. We'll get to that in a second. But in addition to being a real live farm, Marco, tell us about that. But you also make these amazing fruit spreads. Right. And they get entered for the Good Food Awards and they win.
They do. We've been very blessed in that way. I don't want to say I don't know how we keep winning, but I'm always surprised and grateful and overwhelmed. It's pretty cool to be up on a stage with all these other people from across the country that make these amazing food products, that grow their products. It's amazing. It's phenomenal.
Okay, so 2016 you won for Spiced Marionberry, and 2017 you won another award. What was that one for?
That was for our Raspberry Marionberry. Everybody loves Marionberry. It's a trend.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, and then 2018 you won 2 awards.
We did. We won for our Haskap Aronia fruit spread, which are 2 berries that we grow on our farm. And then we won for our Blackberry Aronia Lavender. So
Blackberry Aronia, and then Mike, we'll get you in a second what these crazy berries are nobody's heard of. Okay, and then 2019, you just won your 5th award. What was that for?
For our spiced Marionberry.
The one that you won in 2016.
We made a full circle. Pretty cool. Yeah, it's one of our best sellers. It's near and dear to my heart because it was my very first recipe that I ever made. Fun fact.
I love that. And the thing that is amazing to me, I mean, great. You're beating out people across the country. You're winning with other amazing winners across the country. Yeah. But you're winning in Oregon where there's all these amazing culinary people. I mean, you look at the list of the Oregon Award winners from 2019. I'll put the list if you go to portlandculinarypodcast.com and look at this article that goes with this podcast. I have a list of all the winners. And there's some amazing culinary people.
I think there was like 25 people from Oregon this year, which is, I mean, that's a lot. Think about how many, producers and farmers and makers that is. That's a lot of people.
And I don't want to unsettle you, but if all of those amazing people are winning awards, you know what that means? You guys are equally amazing.
I know, and that's sometimes we struggle with realizing, we're doing good, and we're just so grateful that we get to do what we love.
Well, and you guys are very humble, and I really appreciate that. But no, your stuff is amazing. It's super good. I absolutely love it. Okay, so because I love it, I want people to know about your stuff. Tell me about your top 3 best-selling fruit spreads. What are they?
So our top 3 are our spiced Marionberry, our raspberry Marionberry, and our strawberry lavender.
Strawberry lavender. Okay, and these are all fruit spreads.
They're all fruit spreads.
So why don't you make jams and jellies? Because, I've put your stuff on toast, and it kind of seems like a jam and jelly to my uneducated eye.
Spreads like a jam. We actually can't legally call them a jam or a jelly because they have less than 65% added sugar to them.
So the flaw is there's too much fruit and not enough sugar.
Right. There's way, way, way more fruit than sugar in our fruit spreads. And so that's why we call them a fruit spread, and they taste like fruit. They don't taste like sugar.
Exactly. And they are the best jams and jellies you will ever have. I can call them jams and jellies.
You can call them whatever you want.
Phenomenal.
Thank you.
Okay. And so you actually have 6 flagship fruit spreads. So you've got the spiced Marionberry, the raspberry Marionberry, and the strawberry lavender.
Right.
Okay. And then what are the other 3?
So the ones that are kind of flagship to our farm, our brand, are
And available year-round.
available year-round, our Autumn Apple.
Oh, that is so good.
Oh, and it has Four Spirits Distillery rum. It's amazing. And Jacobson Sea Salt. And our Blueberry Orange Spice.
Blueberry Orange Spice.
It's really good.
Oh.
All of them are really good. And then our Blackberry Aronia Lavender.
Blackberry Aronia Lavender. Okay, Mike, what the heck is an Aronia?
Well, it's a newer berry to this area, but it's native to the East Coast. It got exported over to Europe and grown over there for quite a while. They actually grew it behind the Iron Curtain in Soviet Russia, and it was because it would grow in the ditches that wasn't considered cultivatable land. And they would use those berries to make a little extra money and help survive and help keep their families fed, even though they were struggling along. Since then, it's been imported back to the U.S., grown in the Midwest and on the East Coast primarily. But we found it loves our Oregon climate and our Oregon soils. We can grow berries like nobody would ever believe, with a higher sugar level, a higher Brix, and more aggressively and higher yielding than they can back in the Midwest.
So you guys, you grow a lot of things on the farm. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
But one of the things you grow on the farm is cane berries. Is that right?
Yep.
So for those who know, what the heck is a cane berry?
Well, any of the farmers out here will know when you talk about cane berries, it's any berries that grow on a cane. So raspberries, blackberries, or any of the hybrids or crosses in between.
And is Aronia a berry, a cane berry?
Aronia is not a cane berry. It grows on a bush, more like a blueberry. It's an aggressive grower, and the berries themselves are a little bit smaller than a blueberry, come in a cluster, dark black, purple, and super high in antioxidants.
I love it. Okay, now, Laura, I got to give you high praise indeed, because your blackberry, Aronia berry lavender, you nail the lavender, and it does not taste like hand soap.
Right? And that was actually really hard to do, because there were times that I made it that I'm like, this is horrible, and I'd have to throw out the whole batch. And we just kept adjusting and kept playing with it, and now I think it's perfect. So that took a long time.
No, I get it, because I love lavender.
Me too.
But it's easy to screw up. At least it seems to be, because I've had lots of bad lavender of anything
Well,
that's supposed to be eaten. I'm like,
Right.
are we sure this isn't hand soap?
Are you sure? Yeah, exactly. Well, and you have to use the right kind of lavender, because certain ones can be bitter. It just was a big trial and error,
And you
figuring it
actually
out.
make these recipes in your kitchen right there on the farm.
We do. We have partnered with another farm to help us cook them in larger kettles. But when I'm doing all of the test recipes and figuring everything out, I'm the one cooking them right on my stove. And then when we do them in bigger batches, I'm there. We just cooked the Blackberry Aronia Lavender, and I was there covered in jam, figuring out, how much do we put in the kettle and how much, lavender do we throw in, and just kept tasting it and trying it. And so we're there. We're part of the whole process, so it's pretty exciting.
Okay, now you do some something I love. It's evocative to me, but you do some pop-up flavors.
We do.
Where it's just get it now. We made a little bit and it's going to be gone. So what are the pop-up flavors? You've got 3 of them.
Yeah, so we do a strawberry rhubarb, which is pretty traditional, but people love it. It's special, in that it's our own twist on the recipe. Then we do a Tayberry rose, and oh gosh, there's one other one.
The Haskap?
The Haskap Aronia. And those are, all berries that we grow right on our farm. And it's really limited, kind of a limited edition. And so we only have a certain number each year. And every time that we've posted them for sale, they sell out within hours.
Wow.
It's pretty cool. Yeah.
So that's what they're called, pop-ups. It's up,
Pop-ups.
it's gone. When it's gone, it's gone.
Exactly.
Whereas the other 6 flavors you mentioned, and I'll list these, if you're more of a visual person, you're like, I want to see these, I will have a list right there on the article and a link to where you can get them. We'll get to that in a second. But any other, have you ever thought of doing any, I love me some Earl Grey tea. Have you thought of doing some tea infused? Have you ever thought about that?
Yes, that's actually one thing that's been on my mind, is creating some sort of a set or a trio or something, maybe even bigger than that, of tea infused fruit spreads. And we work with another local farm who uses actually some of our berries to make teas, and they're really good. And I'm like, we need to figure this out and come up with some really good recipes because they complement each other so well. And so that's one thing that we're gonna be working on here, I think.
Okay, and you mentioned your strawberry rhubarb, and just reminded me, a local producer here in Oregon, you may have not heard of that. I love Budokat Winery.
Okay.
They are phenomenal, and every year she makes a limited run of rhubarb wine.
Ah, yes. And I love rhubarb. I grew up with rhubarb, and so I have these really great memories of like strawberry rhubarb pie or just rhubarb cobbler, things like that. So I love that.
Do you make any like savory dishes with the strawberry rhubarb?
We have done, and I don't have these posted anywhere, but we've done like a sweet and sour chicken.
Wow.
And then we have done some other things with meats.
Could we do a strawberry rhubarb with brie? Would that work?
Oh, yeah, definitely. A baked brie with strawberry rhubarb baked on it and then put some toasted hazelnuts on top. It's amazing.
No, I love events. I'm going to reach out to Budokat. When they have the rhubarb, maybe this year or next year, do like a joint event where there's some of your strawberry rhubarb jam or fruit spread, forgive me, and some of her rhubarb wine. And I think that would be a ton of fun.
I think that would be really fun. I would love that. Thank you for thinking of that. Great idea.
I love it. Okay, where can people buy your fruit spreads? Where do they get the stuff?
So the easiest place is to go on our website, and our website is www.mt Hope Farms, so Mount Hope Farms, Oregon.com.
So www.mthopefarmsoregon.com.
Right.
And I guess there wasn't a longer domain available?
Right? We could have put LLC on the end of it.
No, I'm just teasing. I know domains is hard.
It is.
But you've done a good job. So even if I type it in close, so it's funny, I tell people to type in that. And rather than type it in above, in their browser, they type it into the Google search thing instead of like what I said. But I
do that too.
But it still comes up because you have such a good job with SEO.
Oh.
But people can order your fruit spreads right there.
They can, and we ship everywhere in the United States.
So what state don't you ship to?
We ship to all of them.
All
Alaska,
the states.
Hawaii, all the states.
Okay,
so,
even Utah?
Even Utah.
Montana. I got a lot of people I love in Bozeman.
We just use a lot of bubble wrap, and we are good to go. Yeah.
Good, because I want people to buy your stuff. I really want people to buy your stuff, and I want to know where they can get it. Okay, so where'd the name come from, Mount Hope Farms?
Well, my parents had a farm growing grass seed that was Mount Hope seed, and the name came from the road that my grandpa's farm was on. It was Mount Hope Road. That was originally, there's a Mount Hope school out in that area, but it's long since been torn down and nobody really remembers where it was at. But really, everything we do as a farm, it's done in hope. We plant seed and we hope for a good crop. Every aspect of our business is rooted firmly in hope.
I love it. I think that's fantastic. Okay, so now I mentioned this is a real-life farm. So you guys make fruit spreads. You sell them under the Mount Hope Farms brand.
Right.
You actually make them. It's fantastic. And I look for someday just blowing up and being nationwide, Mount Hope fruit spreads everywhere. But until it blows up and you're just selling jams and jellies and fruit spreads everywhere, you have a real, live, working farm. So, Mike, what are some of the things you actually grow on the farm? How big is the farm?
We are farming right around 350 acres. Some of it's rented ground, some of it's owned. It's broken up around, and have to move equipment from field to field down the road. We're growing primarily field crops, which are grass seed, clover seed, and radish seed. But we also are branching into the berries, like haskap and aronia, which both grow on a bush like a blueberry.
And what's a haskap?
A haskap, it's native to Japan. And it's another berry, super high in antioxidants, dark blue, purple flavor, and it's got a flavor to it that's unlike anything else out there. It's got this tart, sweet zing to it, kind of like a raspberry crossed with rhubarb, crossed with maybe strawberry.
Wow, okay, I want me a whole bunch of those. And then how about aronia berry? What do those taste like?
They're more of an astringent berry, so they'll have this mouth-drying effect. One of the real keys with them is growing them properly. If you get the sugar level in the berry up, which we do, it takes a lot of that astringency out. But they have a little bit of a mealy texture. However, if you blend them with other berries or put them into smoothies, other dishes, they'll bring out the flavors that the other berries have. And so they're a great added ingredient, but trying to eat them straight, it takes a little while to develop a taste for them. And since they look like a blueberry, I always kind of want to warn people this isn't a blueberry, because if you're popping it in your mouth thinking it's going to be this super sweet thing, you're going to be in for a real rude surprise.
Okay, so my sweetheart, I call her Diana Prince because she's private, but she likes more of when it comes to wine, she likes a dry wine, not a sweet wine, and she loves cider. She's learning about beer and cider. She loves more of a dry cider. Is it possible to make an aronia berry cider? Has that ever been a thing? Have you heard of that?
I've heard of it. I haven't made it myself yet, but we're very open to any cideries or breweries that would want to work with us because we have berry production and we have berries that would love to go home with them. I've heard back in the Midwest where they grow aronia a lot more commonly that there's been some ciders and beers brewed with aronia that have won some awards back there.
Oh, that's fan! I love the Fruit Beer Fest. It's one of my favorite Portland beer festivals. How cool to have a local grown aronia berry beer in the Fruit Beer Fest. I'm gonna put the word out to these people. They need to reach out to you. I want some aronia berry beer, aronia berry cider made with berries grown right on Mount Hood Farms. Yep. Okay. Anything else you grow? So you've got your seeds, your grass seeds. Yep. You've got some of the berries. Anything else?
We also grow a small amount of apples. That was an old family orchard. My grandpa planted trees and then would forget what he planted. So some of them we don't know what they are. Some of them we know are old heritage varieties. There's some Honeycrisp, some Domine, some Golden Delicious, some Granny Smith and Gravenstein's. Whole big mix of apples out there. We have a few random other fruit trees mixed in the orchard there, and we're growing table grapes.
So what's it sounds silly, but what's a table grape?
It's just like what you'd see on your table. It's seedless, non-slip skin, so you can eat the skin, the seed, no seed in it, the whole grape. And it's what you'd get at the grocery store to eat.
So you don't make wine with them?
No.
It's not a wine grape. It's it's kind of like in the cider world, there's spitters, apples that you can't. You take a bite and you spit them out, but those are good for making cider, and what they call dessert apples. Yep. The first time I heard, what's a dessert apple? I want one of those fancy things. Oh, it's just an apple at the store. And I went, so a table grape is the kind of grapes we find at the store.
Yep.
Ooh, and I bet your table grapes are extra amazing.
They are. We've selected varieties that don't ship well necessarily, so they're a little more fragile to handle, but the flavor on them is phenomenal. They're really high flavor, and then how we grow them, we try and draw out every last little bit of that flavor and make sure that we wait on picking them until they're fully ripe, which makes a huge difference on that flavor too.
Right. They put a lot of care into harvesting them and growing them, and they're amazing. They show every bit of that.
Yeah. Okay, now I heard tell, you're doing great with the fruit spreads. I'm always like, what's the next thing on the horizon? Maybe 2 or 3 years away, even if it's that far, But I heard tell there may be another cool product you're working on in the background. Can you give us a little glimpse of what it might be?
Yeah, so I have been playing around with some recipes for simple syrups that you can use in cocktails, coffees, different things like that. And using, all of our Oregon berries and all of our farm berries. And I've come up with some really good recipes, so it's something that's on the horizon.
I love me a good cocktail, and we have some amazing cocktail bars here in Portland. I would love to be able to see a special cocktail on tap made with some simple syrup that was made right at Mount Home Farms.
Wouldn't that be fun?
I think that's incredible.
Yeah, I'm excited about it.
So back to your fruit spreads. I love them on toast. I love me some toast, real butter, melted butter, and sourdough bread, and a good, fruit spread. There's I just want to sing, but no one wants me to do that. But do you do any cooking with some of your fruit spreads? Any savory stuff? Any recipes on your website?
Yeah, all the time, and that's something I'm trying to get better at with our blog. We just did for Thanksgiving a sweet potato bake that we used our autumn apple fruit spread in. It was so good. It was a big hit. And then we've done things like fall pork chops with our autumn apple or raspberry marionberry with stuffing and apples. We try to do it seasonally,
right?
So people can access the ingredients really easily and use our products at the same time. And right now I'm working on a blog about cocktails and how to mix our fruit spreads into cocktails.
Wow.
And it's easy and it's fun. And
anything with gin, like maybe what's your orange? I'm drawing a blank.
The blueberry orange spice.
I bet I could put that in some gin.
You could. It's got pieces of whole blueberry, which would be really good in there. And I've done gin and jam with like our spiced Marionberry, topped off with a little bit of sparkling water. And you can even remove the alcohol from that if you have kids and want to do like a mocktail type thing too. So it's pretty fun. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm okay. And so I'm actually going to take this jar of spiced Mary. I was going to take it home to Diana Prince to cook up some stuff because she's amazing. She just comes up with amazing stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm going to take a little bit aside from me and make myself this weekend. Actually, I'm going to make myself. You said gin
and jam. So you do when I have made it. And I'm not the world's greatest cocktail mixer, but it's just fun. I did gin, a little bit of simple syrup, lemon juice, jam, and then I actually poured LaCroix water on the top just to make it sparkle. And it's really good. You just shake it up in a cocktail mixer for about 30 seconds with ice, except for the LaCroix because it'll explode. But it's delicious.
That sounds fantastic. And I love me some gin. You know, I try to only drink gin before noon. After 12 o'clock, everything else. Right? But I keep myself just to gin.
I see her post with gin and juice. I'm like, what's your favorite kind of gin?
I love lots of different kinds of gin.
Yeah?
I can't pick favorites, but I particularly love me some local gins.
Yes.
So local gins are amazing. We have incredible gins made here in the Northwest.
Yes.
But, you know, to me, the more ginnier it tastes, man, I love those juniper stronger gins. Those are the ones that I just love. Like,
right.
You know, not the smooth ones are fine, but I love those really rich, rich ones.
Right.
Okay. I'm okay. And baked brie. Some people know what to do with this. Just tell them, what do you do with that? Like if I wanted to take the raspberry Marionberry and do some baked brie, how do I do that? Just simply.
Yeah. So I've got a recipe on our blog, but basically all you do is you take a round of your favorite brie, and if it's got a rind on it, I cut very thinly. I cut the top off. I don't even think you have to do that technically, but I do that.
Okay.
And then I put our fruit spread on the top, however much you want, and then I put toasted hazelnuts on the top. And then you pop it in the oven at a pretty low temperature for about 10 minutes, and watch your oven because every oven varies in temperature, just until it's nice and melty. That's all you do. It's so easy.
And then what do you put it on? Bread, crackers?
You can put it on bread. We did. There was a company out there that did pie crust crackers for a while, and that was really fun. We've done like 34-degree crackers, things like that, wafers. Yeah, it's super easy.
That sounds amazing.
It's really good. Yeah.
Okay, you guys, I love what you do. I am so proud of what you've put together, and it's so great to do this update. I'll put a link if people want to hear the earlier podcast, tell your story and how you got into farming and, all of that. It's a wonderful story. And also, in case people are interested, we recorded an episode of the Portland Culinary Podcast, Social Media for Farmers, because you guys have done an amazing job with farming. So I just want to give a shout out to that episode because people go and listen to that. Particularly Mike, he just nails it.
Thank you.
Day-to-day farming. I'm just so proud of you, particularly when I met you a couple years ago. I'm like, you guys need to step up the social media game. And you both looked at me like I'd grown, horns out of my head.
What is that?
Yeah, we don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And now you're just nailing it and killing it. So I'm really proud of you there. And thank you so much for coming on the Portland Culinary Podcast. And again, where can people go to buy your stuff? What's that website again?
Mount Hope Farms, Oregon. So MTHOPEFARMS. Oregon.com.
And that just is the MT part because the Mount is not spelled out.
Right. I always spell it out for people so it's not as confusing.
Yeah, and I'll just put a link. I'll put it right at the top. People just click there and I'll put go here to buy the best fruit spread you've ever had.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Love what you do. Keep up the good work. Cheers.